in a part where we can ask further questions and hopefully get some answers also from previous presenters that we didn't have time to answer. So let me check some of the questions here. So Sasha, could you please maybe scroll up and see if there are some questions that we've missed or didn't have the time to answer from the beginning? Let's see. Let me check if I have some in the meantime.
Unless somebody remembers the question that he asked and it was not answered.
There are a couple of ones, yes. So there is a question. Perhaps this is mostly oriented toward Mr. Lukáš, but also please be free. Other participants, please be free to also answer. So, what about in case that there were a lot of interest in SMEs for the EDIC services, and about how do you look at the supposed or current capacities that are in Poland regarding these EDICs that are now that are candidate to be EDICs? Do you see that these capacities are enough for the SMEs that would come to them once the financial envelopes are being opened, right? So everything starts with the money. And when I'm thinking about the interest from the SMEs, right? So what do you think? Will you be able to handle it, or what will be the issue, or even with the opened envelopes, do you see still that the issue would be the raising of the awareness of the SMEs?
I think it's a great question, and there are like few dimensions to it that I would like to tackle on. One is definitely there is a role for coordinating, and here the platform, for example, could play the role of mapping the capabilities within the ecosystem. Because as Przemek also said, it's not only that these are also the ones that redirect to other business partners, both in the private sector and also in the public sector. So one thing first of all, we need to know what exists there and where to direct the companies. Secondly, there is definitely an issue of skills available in the market in terms of the experts, in terms of like hiring them and paying the salaries that are quite often quite high. So what we do always as the World Bank, when we advise on the rollout of the programs, is we are taking that into account and doing it in a very gradual way, because we have seen a lot of examples of programs, not in that area, but maybe in innovation, R&D or others, that flooded the market. And then you have perfunctory solutions, like you have suddenly consulting companies that are doing the same technology audit for every company and sometimes forgetting to change the name on the paper. So we have to be really careful about that, not to flood the market, and do it in a very gradual way. Another dimension of this question that we can look at is actually whether the private sector offering exists. And normally we would say, of course, the private sector works, someone should offer these services, but it's not so obvious. And in the chat, I pointed out to the research that the Be The Business did. That's a government organization from UK that has been working on entrepreneurship for the last 3 years, a lot of research they have done. And they have pointed out that the solutions that exist in the market often do not fit the skill level at micro and small companies. So when you have a big company, a large company, you can hire an SAP expert or any other AI expert, or be it just an IT expert. When you have a micro company of 8-9 people, usually these capacities do not exist. And not all the solutions that are on the market are simple enough to be implemented by those micro and small companies. And in UK, they complained a lot about the fact that they are just too difficult, to implement. They're too risky, and so on and so on. I think this will be the same problem obviously in Poland and Croatia. But we can think about the ways to solve that. And the foundation is doing that, the DIGs are also doing that. Part of the technology audits can be automated, and like ADMAT methodology is a way to do that. And combining that, for example, with short advisory service from an expert, and then offering off-the-shelf solutions that are pre-tested and that are well adjusted to the needs of micro and small companies would be a solution to this problem. But then in that sense, there must be an entity, and these will be playing and are playing this role, that kind of lowers the entry barriers to new, even the standardized technologies. So I think it's an excellent question, and there is a lot to do in terms of coordination of the policies and making sure that certification works and so on, so that enough skills of experts and enough offering is available on the market. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
May I add something?
Yeah, sure.
Because I've like this problem that Łukasz now explained is very common. And as a hub, we also support companies in the transformation. So we are with them from pre-audit until the very last, application is finished. And what we figured out is actually that they need like small companies and medium companies, even like 200 people. They still, and it's fully correct, they don't have a person that can handle this, like the whole transformation process. And for them, even having a transformation leader is not sufficient, because in this size of the company, the transformation leader would potentially be somebody from the board or the president or someone who knows enough to pull the ropes. But then if you, I don't know, buy a piece of automated line or something, then you need somebody who knows how to specify it, to buy it. And then you need somebody who can actually accept it and evaluate whether it does or does not do what it was supposed to be doing. And which means that you need an automation expert for 6 months, or maybe AI experts for 2-3 months. And even if they have a budget for one person, it's extremely hard on the labor market now in Poland to actually find a person for a contract of half a year. And I believe that the pool of experts that can be used as a pull-in resource for the companies, so that they would help you specify something for a tender so you can buy what you want. Or you have a person who will help you do the acceptance tests of some complex solution that you have purchased that was previously specified, but it was 2 years ago, and now you get this guy another time in your company to help you make acceptance tests so that it's finally done and you know that it's working in the way you want it. So this is something that is needed on the market. And this is something that I think Austria has already solved, because they have like semi-governmentally, or actually it's the local governments who help fund these people. And these are experts that companies from the local society or market, they can hire. And the local government adds some money to the pool so that there's not 100% paid for the company, so that you get this PM level person that will learn about your company, help you with the implementation, and then go to other companies, help them with implementations. Because you will not be able to hire, like for every technology, every part of transformation, some person that is meritorically sufficient to actually hold the whole implementation from the point of view of a company. It's not possible to be as proficient in anything. And if you find this person, nobody would like to work for you 3 months in 2019 and then 2 months in 2022. It's never going to happen. So there's a lot to be done at the gov and like local government level.
Thank you. Thank you. There was a question for Yasmina, I believe, about the smart specialization strategy. Is it regional or national? And what is the position of the IT industry within the smart specialization strategy in your country?
Yes, I already answered it. I also send a link to a brochure of smart specialization. I think it would be quite good to go through it if somebody wants to have some more specific questions. However, I can say that it's a regional initiative. However, it was kind of initiated by the European Commission. And well, ICT is one of 4 main sectors in the region.
Okay.
And the second question, because there was also a second question concerning the space for makers and the overbooking of the tools. Well, for now they are not overbooked yet. We hope maybe they will be. But as for now, it's possible to use them. There are not any lines, any queues. If you have access subscription that you buy, it's possible to use them without any problem.
I can add also to this, because I know the Space for Makers, because we are there and we actually donate part of our equipment to fulfill the Space for Makers functionalities. So if you ever think of having a park like this that will become a place where people can come, then it's not even halfway, it's a third of way maybe, and the real work becomes when you want to get people into there. So this is a product you need to sell, and SMEs are extremely reluctant in using those places for the same reason that they don't look for leaders, because they have no time. That's normal. Like if you work in the SME, the reality is the cash flow is king. You need to follow the cash flow, and there is no cash flow from going there. There's no cash flow from innovation unless you get funding for innovation. But then they would rather buy their own machine, because buying a machine is the easiest thing you can do in a project, because it's expensive and it's one invoice and you can show it. And it will be in your garage and you can just show, yeah, I bought it 3 years ago, I'm not using it anymore, but I have it. So it is easy from the accounting point of view for SMEs. So they would rather have their own than use something. And it takes a lot of advocacy of work, because startups are another story. This is like they are a good target for this, or like people in the either high schools or maybe like the universities that they're looking for a place where to work. So this is for them, it's pretty good.
This is a good market.
Yeah, that's a target person. But if you think of SMEs, that's very hard to bring them over there unless you do some training, like robot programming and so on. So Yasmina told about this. So these are the cases where you can draw them into the space, but they would mostly be interested, from our experience, in small services that will be done there, or because they don't care where the services are done. But small services, yes. If you can print something out for me on a 3D printer, that's cool. But they wouldn't get interested into coming there, doing the design and so on, because they don't have time for this. And another thing about this particular space, and this is where the park is doing the really good job, is actually aggregation of people who own this equipment, because it had like multiple owners. So there is a few parties operating in the demo area, let's say, and either park is the owner, or we are as a hub, or another organization, or a university that's next to us, and so on. And it's, even though it looks as is, uniform, it's actually split. And everybody has their own rules of usage and so on. And what Park did, they actually aggregated all the people having something physical in that place by proposing the common agreement, which means that Park became the one-stop shop for anybody who would be interested in using this space. So whoever is the owner, you go to Park, Park give you a ticket and you can use it. And that's a very good thing, but it doesn't mean that people will come now, because you still need to bring them.
That's true, and it's still our job to work on actually gaining those people, gaining those startups and people who will come. Well, for sure, Industrial Robot Programming Center was one step forward, because it's dedicated also to students, but also to companies. For sure, Przemysław is right that SMEs, it's definitely a difficult target. But because this Gdańsk Science and Technology Park is mainly dedicated to work with startups, this is the starting point. And well, of course, a lot of things still have to be done, but at least we started.
Great. So we are close. We are actually at the end of our today's day. So and I see that there are a couple of more questions that are asked, so I would also like other participants maybe to answer them. Later we'll send the questions and get answers and distribute them to other attendees. At this moment, I would like to thank to all the participants and presenters and for taking the time to discuss these subjects. We have today's day was mostly oriented towards supporting organizations in the processes of raising Industry 4.0 maturity levels in companies, and tomorrow's day will be mostly focused on the concrete best case scenarios and some hiccups along the way. So we shall be joining today with a couple of companies that will show their digital transformation voyage and how and what they did so far. At this moment, also, I would like also to mention that in case someone would like to try some of these assessments. So that Croatian Industry 4.0 Development Center with some partnerships can offer some of these assessments in Croatia as well, and they are quick and supported. So these are not only assessments based on self-assessment, but also it can be guided. So as previous presenters were saying, self-assessment without some guidance turned out not to be so much utilized at the end. So I think Mr. Krzysztof would like also to answer some of the questions. Sasha is giving me a hint.
Perhaps. Then. Yeah. Do you have questions for him?
Not that I know of. Oh, sorry, Krzysztof. Well, I did. Sorry, because I saw your face now on our screen in front of us, so I thought that way. So I do. So for those who have some time, I do have some question that I think it is useful. So we were all talking about the networking, the whole ecosystems of companies that are joining hands to raise maturity levels of other companies, and as well we're talking about smart specialization within certain industries. So we're talking about smart industries as well, which is also now current in Croatia. We are talking now about smart industries. So is there something that you would describe as a method or some kind of a trial how to measure the maturity level or digital transformation maturity level or Industry 4.0 maturity level of an ecosystem which contains manufacturing companies, but as well it may contain their supporting organizations and other service providers that make the glue in the whole ecosystem. Is there something like that? Anyone?
Yeah, if I can ask, because if I can answer, because Anna Pająk, she said about actual work on standardization of services, of activities, of if you want to move forward to do some maturity assessment of the whole ecosystem, first you need to have a consensus of the standards. So I think it's a quite near future to create some kind of maturity assessment of the whole ecosystem. But at the very beginning, you need to set up the standard for that. So that's my point of view and idea. I think after doing the standardization, if you because today we discussed about the German experience, take a look at please in your time take a look at the document Standardization Council Industry 4.0, this roadmap for Industry 4.0. They're referencing the RAMI 4.0 reference architecture model. They're recommending the need of standardization of research grants that we discussed today a couple of times about this National Center of Research and Development, NCBR, in Poland. So the first step is to set up some standards, then we can work, I think we can work on some maturity assessment for the whole ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Krzysztof. Sasha, will you take the word?
Okay, if we're done with questions and answers for today, I see we've gone just a bit over time. We'll be back again tomorrow. I would like to thank all of our lecturers from Poland for participating today. Your lectures were extremely informative. I hope that all our listeners today in Croatia were able to profit from the information provided. We will be continuing again tomorrow, slightly different topic, a slightly different target audience, I should say.
Yes.
For the same topic. Samo da završim na hrvatskom. Svima koji su pratili ovo predavanje, odnosno sva ova današnja predavanja, zahvalio bih vam se u ime Hrvatske gospodarske komore. Nadam se da ste vi profitirali od današnjih predavanja i za vas koji ćete sutra se ponovo nama pridružiti, bit će nam drago. U 10 sati smo opet zajedno sa nastavkom ove konferencije. Once again, thank you to our Polish lecturers. Thank you to everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.